Did you know that rising global trade tensions could force Canadians to pay up to 15% more on everyday items? That's an extra $150 in a $1,000 purchase. And it doesn't stop there. In manufacturing centers like Ontario and Quebec, the fallout could mean thousands of lost jobs, sending shockwaves through local communities. Can you imagine the impact on your wallet and your neighborhood? For Canadians, these trade tensions mean that everyday products from automobiles to household appliances might see a price increase at the checkout. But it's not just about higher prices. The ripple effects extend deep into the job markets of key manufacturing regions. Experts warn that several thousand jobs could vanish from areas like Ontario and Quebec, triggering a significant drop in consumer spending power. This decline could lead to slower economic growth and increased financial uncertainty for families already juggling tight budgets. In today's video, we'll explore how these global trade disputes are reshaping the Canadian economy, break down the shocking numbers, and reveal what these changes mean for your daily life. Chapter 1, Setting the Stage. Our story begins in early 2024, when President Donald Trump introduced aggressive trade policies under the America First banner. The U.S. imposed hefty tariffs on steel and aluminum imports, affecting roughly $35 billion in goods according to the U.S. International Trade Commission. These tariffs were designed to protect domestic production and safeguard American jobs, but they sent shockwaves through global markets, disrupting established supply chains. These tariff decisions are not just boardroom debates, they have real effects on your daily life. For example, increased tariffs mean higher production costs for manufacturers, which often translate to higher prices for everyday items like cars, appliances, and even construction materials. Recent studies indicate that U.S. consumers could see an average price hike of 2 to 3% on goods that rely on imported steel and aluminum. Additionally, with a slowdown in the supply chain, local hardware stores and car dealerships might experience delays and reduced stock, directly impacting your shopping experience and maintenance costs. Chapter 2, Germany's bold move. Germany, with its robust industrial base and world-leading automotive sector, was hit hard by these tariffs. The threat escalated when President Trump hinted at a further 25% tariff on automobiles. German giants like BMW, Mercedes-Benz, and Volkswagen, which accounted for 73% of the European Union's car exports to the US in 2023, suddenly faced the grim possibility of losing significant market share. The Brookings Institution estimates that such tariffs would reduce US GDP growth by approximately 0.25 percentage points, equating to a loss of around $45 billion in economic output. To counter this, Germany signaled it might bypass the slow EU processes and act unilaterally to protect its interests. Recent data from Eurostat showed that over 285,000 jobs in Germany rely on the automotive sector, and further disruptions could potentially risk up to 50,000 jobs in the supply chain alone. For everyday citizens in Germany and beyond, these developments mean more than just numbers on a chart. Car buyers could face price increases of several thousand euros, making even luxury vehicles less affordable. Moreover, with job insecurity rising in the automotive sector, local communities might experience reduced consumer spending and economic uncertainty. Recent surveys indicate that nearly 70% of German households are already feeling the pinch, as increased manufacturing costs trickle down to higher prices for everyday goods and services. This could lead to tighter household budgets and a more cautious approach to discretionary spending. Chapter 3, Canada joins the fray on the other side of the Atlantic. Canada, a key supplier of steel and aluminum to the U.S., also found itself in a difficult position. With bilateral trade between Canada and the U.S. exceeding $800 billion in the first 3 quarters of 2024, these tariffs posed a significant threat. Canada accounted for nearly 20% of U.S. steel imports. Regarding aluminum, Canada exported 3.08 million tons to the U.S. in 2023, representing 56% of U.S. aluminum imports for domestic consumption. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau quickly denounced the tariffs as unfair taxes and signaled that Canada was considering coordinated retaliatory measures. In an unexpected move, Trudeau expressed willingness to partner with Germany to form a united front against these tariffs, a move that marked a departure from Canada's traditionally cautious approach to trade disputes. Economic forecasts from the Bank of Canada added urgency to this potential alliance, warning that persistent U.S. protectionism could lower Canada's overall trade growth by 2 to 3% over the next 2 years. For Canadians, these trade tensions mean that everyday products from automobiles to household appliances might see a price increase at the checkout. Moreover, job markets in manufacturing hubs like Ontario and Quebec could suffer, with potential job losses estimated in the thousands. Local communities might face a decline in consumer spending power, leading to slower economic growth and increased financial uncertainty for families already managing tight budgets. Chapter 4. The European Union's Dilemma. The European Union has long prided itself on its unified trade policies, with the European Commission coordinating countermeasures against external economic threats. In response to the U.S. tariffs, the EU quickly prepared a counter-tariff list aimed at offsetting U.S. measures by targeting American agricultural and industrial products. However, Germany's decision to act independently and negotiate directly with Canada has raised serious concerns about the EU's collective bargaining power. A recent poll by the European Policy Center found that 69% of EU citizens agree that the EU has sufficient power and tools to defend Europe's economic interests in the global economy. For everyday Europeans, these internal divisions could have tangible consequences. A fragmented EU response might result in inconsistent pricing and supply chain disruptions across member countries. Consumers could see a rise in the cost of everyday items from home appliances to automobiles as businesses adjust to the new trade realities. Recent consumer price index data across the EU shows an average inflation increase of around 2.5% attributed directly to these trade tensions. Additionally, uncertainties in the market might lead to decreased consumer confidence, which in turn can reduce spending and slow economic recovery in local communities. Chapter 5. Potential outcomes. One possibility is that the U.S. remains steadfast in its protectionist stance, leading to a full-blown trade war. This could trigger a cascade of retaliatory measures, with U.S. industries facing higher raw material costs and consumers experiencing increased prices. The International Monetary Fund projects that a prolonged trade war could reduce global GDP growth by 0.5 to 1% over the next 2 years. U.S. consumers might see an annual price increase of 2 to 3%, and job losses in key sectors could exceed 100,000 across North America and Europe. Alternatively, there is hope for a temporary compromise. In this scenario, the U.S. could ease or postpone the 25% tariff on European automobiles, while Germany, Canada, and the EU refrain from immediate retaliatory measures. Economic models suggest that such a compromise could boost global trade growth by 1 to 2% in the short term. However, while this may stave off immediate economic fallout, the underlying issues would remain unresolved. A third possibility is prolonged diplomatic negotiations, influenced by the upcoming U.S. elections in 2025. While continued dialogue might ease immediate tensions, extended uncertainty could lead to a contraction in industrial production by 1 to 1.5% over the next 18 months. As investors remain cautious and businesses delay long-term planning, for everyday people, the difference between these scenarios could mean the difference between economic stability and uncertainty. In a full-blown trade war scenario, consumers could face higher prices on everything from gasoline to groceries, with inflation potentially accelerating and household budgets becoming strained. In contrast, a temporary compromise might allow prices to stabilize and give consumers a brief reprieve from rising costs. However, the lingering uncertainty from prolonged negotiations could mean that businesses delay hiring or expansion, leading to slower job growth and fewer opportunities for wage increases. Recent consumer surveys indicate that nearly 50% of households in both the US and Europe are concerned about the long-term impact of these trade disputes on their cost of living and employment prospects. Chapter 6. Broader geopolitical implications beyond immediate economic impacts. This trade dispute has significant geopolitical implications that could reshape global alliances and redefine trade norms. For decades, the United States has leveraged its economic clout and diplomatic soft power to dictate the terms of international trade. However, the coordinated responses from Germany and Canada hint at a potential realignment of power dynamics. Such shifts in global power can influence everyday life by altering the stability of markets and the predictability of international supply chains. When major economies realign, new trade agreements and partnerships emerge, potentially leading to changes in the availability and price of goods, ranging from electronics to everyday consumables. With new alliances forming, companies may also shift production to different regions, which can affect local job markets and consumer prices. As we reach the end of our deep dive analysis, it's clear that the unfolding trade dispute between the United States, Germany, and Canada, and its broader implications for the European Union represents a pivotal moment in global trade. The aggressive tariffs imposed under the America First agenda have triggered a cascade of reactions, challenging long-standing trade norms and alliances, ultimately affecting the everyday lives of millions of people around the world. Whether we face a prolonged trade war, a temporary compromise, or extended diplomatic negotiations, the stakes are enormous. Billions of dollars in trade value, millions of jobs, and the stability of our daily lives hang in the balance. The potential for higher prices, reduced consumer confidence, and changes in local job markets are all very real outcomes that could affect each of us. With the 2025 US elections on the horizon and global uncertainties mounting, the coming months will be critical in determining the future of international trade and economic stability. We'd love to hear your thoughts on these developments. Do you believe that the coordinated actions by Germany and Canada can reshape US trade policy, or will domestic political pressures ultimately prevail? How do you see these changes impacting your daily life? Let us know in the comments below.